Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapte Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishbhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. So we are discussing Bhagavad Gita chapter 2. Last class we discussed various points, specifically starting from how Lord Krishna gave the knowledge of Sankhya, specifically the knowledge of soul. And then we discussed about Kshatriya Dharma. Krishna gave instructions to Arjuna on performance of his Kshatriya Dharma.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, your voice is breaking.
We also have... Okay, just hold on then. Let me try changing the internet connection then. Hare Krishna. I hope it's better now.
Yes, Prabhuji.
And we also had a look at how Lord Krishna is making a background before starting to give instructions on Nishkam Karma Yoga. We had some discussion on the 5 reasons that Arjuna gave and how Lord Krishna is countering those reasons one by one, right? Just a couple of points would you like to reflect before we begin further? Any queries from our last session or anything that you would like to touch upon or discuss upon? I hope everyone got that link about the document. I will also share you a Google Drive link, which has all the Srila Prabhupada's audio. So you can download Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita class and Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita recitation. And I'll let you know which specific lecture to hear before coming to the next class. Okay. Not tomorrow, but like in coming days, like in those lectures that you can hear. Okay, anything from last class, anything at all? Is it possible for devotees to switch on their cameras by any chance? If you can switch on, that would be wonderful to connect with devotees in person. Otherwise, it's kind of a very impersonal class. Okay, then if there are no questions from last session, let us continue further. Again, I would need the screen sharing rights for my another login by the same name, Premanchal Das. If the host can kindly give us. Okay, thank you. Yes, we will discuss that about witness in the end. Okay, so why is Lord Krishna what is Lord Krishna mentioning about Vedas and the language in Vedas? We discussed in the last class, especially in relation to the verse 45. Not verse 45. We discussed verse 43 and we read the translation of verse 44, right? So why Lord Krishna is saying, seems to criticize the various rituals given in Vedic scriptures. We had discussed that Lord Krishna is not specifically criticizing the Vedic rituals. He is condemning those persons who live a life just out of selfish desire. He is specifically pointing out to the difference between karma and karma yoga. He is making a clear distinction that these two are very different things. Karma is not same as karma yoga, although the external activity may be the same, but it is the consciousness of the person who's performing that activity. Arjun was very worried about the fear of sinful reaction. And why he was worried? Because he thought he is engaging in a very ghastly act of war. But Krishna is making a clear distinction that it is not just the activity, but it is the consciousness, it is the buddhi with which that activity is performed. And therefore, again, in this verse 42 and 43, sorry, Krishna is mentioning about the selfish desire. That's one. And second, those very persons, they say that there is nothing else to the religious life, just following, elaborately executing the rituals to get a good birth, to get elevation to heavenly planets for power and so forth. But every one of this thing is dependent, is just centered around my own sense gratification. So Krishna is condemning that mentality. That's one. And second, not only that, these persons, they go one step further to declare that there's nothing more to religious life. There's nothing more to Vedic scriptures, right? So we read the translation of verse 44, Bhogeshwarya Prasaktana. A little discussion on that. So what are the obstacles to samadhi? Samadhau na vidhiyate. Samadhau means to control mind. To live a life of selflessness, as Krishna is proclaiming. Krishna is giving instruction about karma. Lord Krishna is making clear that there are two obstructions into it. Especially, actually, it's just one, but attachment to these two things. What? Bhoga, that means material enjoyment, and Aishwarya, and opulence. Prasaktanam. One is asakti, one who is attached. Prasaktana means one who is very attached. So what happens to a person who is very attached to material enjoyment? Material enjoyment means when the senses come in contact with sense objects. And the feeling, the experience that one gets momentarily, that kind of material enjoyment, which is on the level of body. There are two kinds of body, gross body and subtle body. So pleasures which are directly connected to the material body and material mind. So sense enjoyment, that's bhog, and aishwarya and opulence. So what happens to such persons? That resolution, Vyavasayatmika buddhi. Remember in verse 41, we again this word came, Vyavasayatmika buddhi, ekha kurunandana. And now Krishna is telling, what are the challenges, what are the roadblocks or obstacles in getting that Vyavasayatmika buddhi, this attachment to bhog and aishwarya. Samadho na vidhiyate. So such determination, that buddhi doesn't arise in these category of persons. And therefore, Arjun, what should you do? Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna Nirdvando Nitya Sattvasto Niryoga Shema Atmavan. Okay. Maybe Divya Leela Mataji, would you like to please read?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. The Vedas deal mainly with the subjects of the three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self. Purport also, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Yeah, purport. All material activities involve actions and reactions in the three modes of material nature. They are meant for fruitive results, which cause bondage in the material world. The Vedas deals mostly with fruitive activities to gradually elevate the general public from the field of sense gratification to a position on the transcendental plane. Arjuna, as a student and friend of Lord Krishna, is advised to raise himself to the transcendental position of Vedanta philosophy, where in the beginning there is Brahma Jigyasa, or questions on the supreme transcendence. All the living entities who are in the material world are struggling very hard for existence. For them, the Lord, after creation of the material world, gave the Vedic wisdom, advising how to live and get rid of the material entanglement. When the activities for sense gratification, namely the Karma Kanda chapter, are finished, then the chance for spiritual realization is offered in the form of the Upanishads, which are part of different Vedas, as the Bhagavad Gita is a part of the fifth Veda, namely the Mahabharata. The Upanishads mark the beginning of transcendental life. As long as the material body exists, there are actions and reactions in the material modes. One has to learn tolerance in the face of dualities such as happiness and distress, or cold and warmth, and by tolerating such dualities, become free from anxieties regarding gain and loss. This transcendental position is achieved in full Krishna consciousness when one is fully dependent on the goodwill of Krishna.
Yes, thank you. Actually, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he writes in the purport of this verse, he writes that the intention of Krishna in telling this verse is that, here Arjun, give up all sadhanas of dharma, arth, kam, and moksha, and just take shelter of bhakti yoga. And that is the intention of this verse. So the Vedas have the ability to reveal only karma and gyan and other topics composed of three modes for personal gratification. But however, it doesn't mean that Vedas doesn't speak about bhakti. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur goes on to quoting various verses from different Vedic scriptures where directly the emphasis is given on bhakti. Veda says bhakti evanam nayati in Mathara Shruti, and then yasya deve para bhakti yatha deve tatha gurau in Shvetashwar Upanishad. So he goes on to quote various verses from Vedic scriptures and specifically telling about how Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to go beyond the three modes of nature. Right. Before I continue further, I hope everyone is familiar with the context of this verse. I just want to cross-check once again. The context, I mean, the flow is clear to everyone. Why this verse is being spoken and why at this place and what exactly is happening in the conversation, in the dialogue. Is it clear to everyone? how in the chapter 1, Arjuna became bewildered, and then he presented various reasons, various arguments, and still he was not able to make a decision. And finally, he surrendered to Krishna. And then Krishna took the role of the teacher. And then he started giving the knowledge about, first of all, about the soul, then about the Kshatriya karma. And now he's speaking about the Karma Yoga. And why he's speaking about Karma Yoga. Is it clear to everyone? I just want to uh, get clarity from all of you, that all of you are aware of the context, why these verses and why Krishna is discussing this subject matter. If it is not clear to someone, I can repeat. How many of you could read the purports in your weekend? You have read the complete chapter 2. If you can raise your hands, that you have already read chapter 2 and all its purports. You have come after reading. Okay. Just 6. What happened to others? You didn't read anything? Okay. So please feel free to, stop me and ask at any point if you feel lost or if you don't know what's happening and where are we. Just please have that clarity. It's very important just to make the sense of everything that is being discussed. It's very important to have that ground ready. Okay. So now, yeah.
So, Prabhu, should I ask one question?
Yes, please go ahead.
Prabhuji, यहाँ पर since Krishna has mentioned about the Sankhya Yoga, and then he has started Buddhi Yoga, and Buddhi Yoga, Karma Yoga, and all are the synonyms. So he starts with to work with intelligence. The intention is important, and then he quotes, okay, even if there is a little progress, there is no harm. And then he mentions about Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. But before that, before the Sankhya Yoga, he was mentioning about the Kshatriya duty. And if you will fight, you will gain heavenly planets. And if you will lose, then, if you will conquer, then you will enjoy. And if you will die, then you will go to heavenly planets. So what I am understanding that he has mentioned about Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. And then he is saying how one cannot have the Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. He is mentioning 42, 43, and then 44, and so on. So then he wants to make, is it so that he wants to make us make Arjun, or through Arjun make us understand, even if one goes to heavenly planets, one will not have the permanent destination? Is it the purpose?
No, not like that. See, Arjuna was on a path of Gyan. He wanted to renounce everything and go to forest, right? And then Krishna also emphasized upon the duties of karma, his Kshatriya dharma. So that's what we discussed in previous class also. Oftentimes people think either we have to just act, or we have to give up everything and just cultivate knowledge and and be renounced from this world. And that is how Lord Krishna is combining both of them. If one acts with the right intelligence and with right motive, right consciousness, the kind of those actions will not bear reactions. They will lead to moksha, dharma, liberation. So that is the emphasis. And yes.
Okay,
So the purpose is how he was afraid of sinful reaction, and now Krishna is trying to tell the reaction doesn't come just out of the action that you do. It comes based upon the consciousness about why that action has been performed. Externally, the action may appear to be the same, but it's the consciousness that will determine the reaction. Okay. Kanchan Varn Gaurangi Mataji, why Krishna is criticizing Vedas in the course of his teaching to Arjuna here? Krishna, it's a very wonderful question. Krishna is not criticizing Vedas. What exactly is Krishna criticizing? The persons who pursue the path of Vedas just out of selfish desire, and they proclaim that there is nothing more to this, na anyad asti, to Vedic scriptures and religious life. He's criticizing that mentality. Right? Clear? Any other code?
So Krishna is making us understand the falsity of this Karam Kand and heavenly planets and all. And then at the same time, he is trying to make us understand the Buddhi Yoga also, that how can these karmas be done in the right consciousness and one will not be bound.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. So, in continuation of the same conversation, in the next verse, Krishna says, all purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. So please note down this verse and verse 46. The link that I'll share, please everyone hear the lecture to this specific verse. Okay, Prabhupada's class on this verse. And also, if you have Srila Prabhupada code book, you can go through the codes for this chapter. It's a very wonderful lecture Prabhupada speaks. So, has anyone ever used a well in your life? Anyone from a village background? I know those who have taken birth in cities and born and brought up in cities, hardly any interaction with well. But if you go to village side, there are different wells for different purposes. So Prabhupada explains that how there are one well is used for cleaning the body after attending the call of nature. Some wells are used for brushing teeth. Other wells are used for washing clothes. Some are used for washing hair. Some are used for drinking water. But all those purposes of different wells are served by a large body of water like a lake. In lake, one can clean the body, one can brush the teeth, one can also take the water for cooking and drinking. So the outstanding, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, the outstanding quality of the lake water, however, is its sweet taste, whereas that of the well is not tasty. So similarly, whatever purposes are served by worship of all devatas mentioned in all the Vedas are achieved through the worship of one Supreme Lord. So why is mentioning? So all the Vedic rituals, they are directed towards the specific demigods. To fulfill a particular desire, you worship this demigod, and then by the blessing of that demigod, you'll get this. Even in Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 3rd chapter, beginning, you will find various things given. You want a good husband, you want a good wife, you want a good knowledge, you worship this and that. But if you worship Krishna, who is the source of all blessings, all purposes are fulfilled. And then from verse 47 to 53, after making this background, in the background, he says, I'm the knowledge that I'm about to give is Buddhi Yoga. And in the previous verses, he specifically emphasized the difference between karma and karma yoga. And they are not the same. And so now in 47 to 53, Lord Krishna specifically mentions what exactly is karma yoga, Nishkam karma yoga. So a very famous verse from Bhagavad Gita, Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana Ma karma phala heturbhur mate sangostva karmani. Very interesting verse. Lord Krishna says, Karmane evadhikaraste. Adhikar means you have a right. You have right on what? Karmana. Your karma. What is that karma? Your prescribed duty. Prescribed by whom? By Shastra. On the basis of what? Your Varna. So you have a right to perform your prescribed duty. Ma phaleshu kadachana. But ma, not. You don't have right on phaleshu, all the different kinds of phal of that activity. Sometimes I may have right and sometimes I may not have. Is it possible? Krishna says kadachana. You never have that right at any point of time. Kadachana. Ma karma phal heturbhur. So again he says ma. Ma means not. Karma phal hetu. Hetu means the cause. Don't consider yourself as a hetu, as a cause of your karma phal. So if I am not the cause of my karma phal, why to act at all? And in the last line, Krishna says, Mate sangastva akarmani. Mate sanga. Sanga means attached. Don't be attached. Astu. Akarmani. Akarmani means perform your prescribed duties. Akarmani. Don't be attached to not performing your prescribed duty. So Hindi में कहते हैं ना चारों खाने चित करना. So Krishna is doing. You have a right on what? Performance of your prescribed duties, but you don't have right on the result. Don't consider yourself the cause, hetu of the karma phal, and don't be attached to not doing your prescribed duties. So that's how Lord Krishna starts his instructions on Nishkam Karma Yoga. Okay. Priya Mataji, can you read the purport? Okay, we'll read all complete purport, please. Go ahead.
There are three considerations here: prescribed duties, capricious work, and inaction. Prescribed duties are activities enjoined in terms of one's acquired modes of material nature. Capricious work means action without the sanction of authority, and inaction means not performing one's prescribed duties. The Lord advised that Arjun not be inactive, but that he perform his prescribed duty without being attached to the result. One who is attached to the result of his work is also the cause of the action. Thus, he is the enjoyer or sufferer of the result of such actions. As far as prescribed duties are concerned, they can be fitted into three subdivisions, namely routine work, emergency work, and desired activities. Routine work performed as an obligation in terms of the scriptural injunctions without desires for result is action in the mode of goodness. Work with results becomes the cause of bondage. Therefore, such work is not auspicious. Everyone has his proprietary right in regard to prescribed duties, but should act without attachment to the result. Such disinterested obligatory duties doubtlessly led one to the path of liberation. Arjun was therefore advised by the Lord to fight as a matter of duty without attachment to the result. His non-participation in the battle is another side of attachment. Such attachment never leads one to the path of salvation. Any attachment, positive or negative, is cause for bondage. Inaction is sinful. Therefore, fighting as a matter of duty was the only auspicious path of salvation for Arjun.
Okay. So three kinds of work are defined in this purport. First are the prescribed duty, which are defined according to, in Shastras, according to one's Varna. And Varna is based upon one's acquired modes of nature. And then there is capricious work, that is action without the sanction of authorities. And then it is inaction, not performing one's prescribed duty. And also Srila Prabhupada goes on to give the categories of prescribed duties. So one kind of prescribed duty is the routine work. Another is the emergency work, and third is the desired work. So now Krishna is specifically telling Arjuna on a very personal level that this is what you're supposed to do, and therefore your prescribed duty is to fight. Whenever, if you are facing a difficult situation, just don't give up your prescribed duties. Srila Prabhupada gives a very interesting example. She says, just like a girl who is a dancer and she dances on stage in front of everyone. So now once the girl goes onto the stage and she sees many of his family members and relatives in the audience, and now she's becoming shy and she's not dance. She's refusing to dance. And Srila Prabhupada goes on to explaining, and what is the use of becoming shy now? If she's supposed to dance, she should dance. And therefore, I mean, he says in a very particular context, and that's why I requested you to hear the class. So now, whatever one's prescribed duties, one needs to be firmly fixed in that. Fighting as a matter of duty was the only auspicious path of salvation for Arjuna. Now,
Roji, I have one question.
yes, please.
The second last line of this, the first paragraph, the purport.
Okay. What is the question?
Could you please help me in that? How, well, the first question is, we are not the cause of action. Now here it is written that if we are attached, then we are the cause.
One who is attached to the result of his work is also the cause of the action, right? This one?
Yes, Guruji.
Yes. So that is where the role of false ego comes. If a person thinks, see, in the previous verse, Krishna explained the reaction to any action is based upon the consciousness of the performer. Now, what is that consciousness? If a person is situated in ignorance and thinks that I am the cause, and that person is attached to enjoy the result of that work, so Krishna fulfills that desire. That person, because that person is attached to the result and wants to enjoy the result, Krishna says, okay, please enjoy. But to enjoy or to suffer means to accept a body. And therefore, it is said here, one who is attached to the result of the work is also the cause of action. So in 18th chapter, Krishna will explain there are 5 factors of action. But one of them is Paramatma, and and the endeavor, the kshetra, the senses, right? But one who is thinking, who is operating under this conception that I want to enjoy, and he's or she is attached to enjoy the results of that action, because they have to accept another body. Therefore, the transmigration into different bodies continues for that person. And in that context, it is written that that person becomes the cause of action. Therefore, you'll see the next line to it. Thus, he is the enjoyer or sufferer of the result of such action.
So, Prabhuji, is this attachment is applicable to both the results which we perform in our daily activities plus in devotional service also? For example, if one goes for any service and is expecting result out of it,
So
is this
yes, it depends, Prabhu. Very nice question. Thank you. It depends what exactly is the result that devotee is looking for. For example, the devotee is looking for, I want to glorify Krishna. I want to build an app and I want to make that app viral and I want everyone to download that app and read Bhagavad Gita in that app and become connected to Krishna. If the result is in the terms of the satisfaction of Krishna and how the glorification of Krishna will increase, he'll be pleased, then that is a most glorious desire. That's a purified desire. But if a person is desiring that I want to perform this service so nicely so that my fame, everyone should know that, this, I have done this service in such a wonderful way. I want to increase my own glory. So that is a karma mishrit bhakti, that I'm doing bhakti, but there's a mixture of, there's still impurity is in the heart. Although I'm doing that service, it will bring purification, but it's not ananya bhakti, it's not pure bhakti. So yes, a person will become the cause of that action, then they'll continue. So it depends how
thank you very much.
yeah, right.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, please go on.
Prabhu, it is prescribed duties. First there was 4 vibhagas, but now all are in Shudra stage. How can we define our duties? All Prabhupada also mentioned that in this Kali Yuga all are Shudras. And there are no prescribed duties for Shudras, means not any specified duties for Shudras. What are the duties of Shudras, Prabhu?
If you read the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and if you read the qualification of Shudra and their prescribed duties, we'll wonder whether do we fit in even in Shudra category or not. And even in Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, Krishna himself prescribed the what is the dharma for a in this chapter to assist the all 3 other varnas classes. So and also, Prabhu, it's not that one is if that verse also is written in a specific order. It doesn't mean that everyone's varna is Shudra only. It means that one has to undergo the purification ceremony. If you read the other part of that verse, it reads, if a person has not undergone any kind of sanskara, that is by birth, everyone is Shudra. But if someone undergoes various kinds of sanskara or purificatory rituals, one is elevated to different things. And then there are, if you see, a little bit of astrology chart, everyone's like varna, in which varna, some are varna of in Shudra, some are the varna of Vaishya, some are in varna of Kshatriya and Brahmana. And you can even observe that there are so many variety in psychophysical nature and in the different abilities and skill sets of a person. I know one person, you give him any situation, you just leave that person in the desert and he can start making money even in the desert. And some people are so artistic. You give them any kind of business, वो सारा business डुबो देंगे. But you give them any kind of creative work, they'll excel like anything. And then there are people who are so intellectual, so attached to reciting the verse. You give them books, they can sit at one place for 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours. They'll be very happily studying shastras. Yeah. You give them some people who have such Ishvara Bhava and they can organize so well, they can dominate so well, and you will find different abilities in different persons. So But your question is very nice in the terms of how do I recognize where do I fit in? That's the question. I belong to which Varna, and specifically what is the prescribed duty for me? That's something to ponder upon and discuss upon. Yeah. Okay.
See the astrology and decide that we are in which
No,
Varna.
astrology can certainly give hints. It just doesn't decide everything on its own. Specifically, usually the system was when a person would go in the Gurukul and their teachers would identify seeing the proclivity in the child, and they would train that child accordingly. That was one. Astrology also would certainly help, as if the astrologer is a qualified one. See, astrology is a bona fide science. What the problem comes when the astrologer, they should know the how to see it rightly. So astrology also certainly helps in detecting. And
Prabhu, I was hearing one lecture in that in Krishna has already fit in your which family, that is your fit for you. Like that also is okay, Prabhu. And so some are born in Brahmanas and some are born in this Vaishya, or some are born in different Kshatriya. Like that they are fit.
so that is a debate, ongoing debate, and that is practically a war going on for centuries just on this question. You know, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur fought his entire life just to get rid of this conception, that a person who's not born in Brahmana family, how everyone, the smart Brahmana, they said, how can you give them Brahman initiation? How can they worship the deities and so on? But on the strength of Narad Muni, he says, this is very much possible. Even the logo of Gaudiya Math, if you see, one side Pancharatra, one side Bhagavad. So, no, Prabhu, in a family of a Brahmana, a person can have a Varna. In the Vedic times, earlier times, Satyug, that kind of times, usually because all the sanskars were happening appropriately and all the marriages were happening in the right Varna, all the sanskars were happening. So usually a son of a Brahmana was usually a Brahmana Varna. But this is not a rule. And specifically in Kali Yuga, it is so khichdi and it is so confusion. It's very difficult to determine. But someone who is very expert, they can, someone who's very, very expert in terms of understanding this Vedic science, and they can tell simply by understanding the profession of mother and father. They can give a certain, in a certain boundary parameter, that this son or daughter would have this kind of Varna. But it is not a rule of, it is no, especially in Kali Yuga, it's very difficult to just simply by, on the basis of family, but it's able to tell them. And Srila Prabhupada gives, even if one is, let us say, Prabhupada says, even if assuming that person has a son of a Brahmana is Brahmana, but still the training and education is required. And he gives an example, the son of a lawyer is not automatically considered a lawyer. He still needs to pass the degree and earn his qualification. But the environment would be very favorable for such a person because he's exposed right from the birth. He has, he's practically seen his parents and so on. So chances are there, but still he has to go to school, earn a degree and actually practice it in order to be called as a lawyer or a doctor. Even if someone has qualification, but they are not practicing it, again, they cannot be called as lawyer. Okay. So I see various hands raised. So are these questions? You want to ask questions in this one? Okay, please go on. Let's go first.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, we have already discussed about the result related to spiritual life. Like you have to give an example for Krishna, Seva or something. But in material life, as we talk about day-to-day activities, without goal, we don't work, right? So how to understand result-oriented and how to connect it to this shloka
So,
practically?
yeah,
Every, like, in the night we say kayena vacha mansendriya va. So like how to do it practically in spiritual life so that we will not entangle whatever we are doing end of the day.
yeah, a very wonderful question. Thank you. Very practical one. It doesn't mean Krishna is not telling to not have any goal in life and just work mindlessly and uh, 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 and in a very, very scattered way, just go and blindly, right? And anyone can exploit you. Okay, you go to company, you do job, but the owner of the company
Don't
says,
expect
I want
salary.
salary. No, you have to understand in the right context. So, just a second, I lost my train of thoughts. So, it is not, in fact, the other, in a very opposite direction is true. Someone who is not making a goal and someone who is not planning rightly, that person you will find usually will be acting in mode of passion or ignorance. To plan and set goal is actually a satoguna. A person will act in mode of goodness. And that is why, once when I was doing the DT worship course in Mayapur, and the very first unit, Brahminical Culture and Ethics, specific assignment was given to us, and we were assessed on that assignment, was to make a goal of one's life in next 1 year, for next 1 month, next 1 year, and for next 10 years. We were supposed to make that in a very particular format and submit that. Why? Because planning is actually elevates one in a mode of goodness. So when once here when it is written here that you are not entitled to the fruits of action, Srila Prabhupada gives an example. For example, one takes a seed. So one bows a seed. Now to bow the seed, you have to prepare the land. You have to water it. You have to take all kinds of precaution that none of the animals come and eat the plant. One takes that seed, waters it, takes very well care of that seed, and the tree that comes from that seed, the fruit that comes from the tree, you're not entitled to that fruit. That fruit must go to Krishna. But in the previous things, one needs a very, very proper planning, very proper execution, very proper, alert. Therefore, if you read Krishna book, one of the chapters comes in which Krishna goes with Arjuna on a hunting, and he wanted to see how the practice of Arjuna is going on, because he wanted to make Arjuna and his own instrument in the future. So if Arjuna was not competent, he would not be here fighting for Krishna, right? So Arjuna took all of his education. He was very competent. He did all the planning, and execution was actually done by Arjuna. But the ultimate fruit was not enjoyed by him. That he was not fighting because he wanted a kingdom for his own self, right? So therefore, when we are into our careers, we are going out to earn money by doing a job or by a business, by any means. If we are doing that job to earn money so that I can lead a very sensuous life for sense gratification, Krishna says that person lives in a vain. But if I'm earning money because I want to practice spiritual life, I want to contribute to Sankirtan movement, I want to preach, and then it's completely spiritual. It's your devotional service. So the purpose determines everything. If I'm taking care of my kids nicely, and I would be very concerned about their results in the exam and about their results in various fields and how they're growing, how they're doing nicely, because I want it's my responsibility that they grow up into wonderful human beings as a devotees of the Lord. I'm doing with that intention. But if that intention is missing, then that everyone sees, look, she's my daughter, and how can my daughter fail in exam or my son fail in exam? If that is the whole point, that I am, the center point is me, rest everything is secondary, then it's attached life. But if the center point is Krishna and I am the servant of Krishna, that's
Thank you, Guruji. Prabhuji, you said you had this template for planning, like what should be the goal in
yeah.
1 year and one.
Yeah.
It can be spiritual one, or it can be mixture of like.
So we were specifically given 2 assignments, one for spiritual life and one for material life that can be spiritualized.
Yes, this one. Kaise?
So yes.
How to plan, or
so definitely,
whenever you have time, so please guide us.
We need to plan. Let us say I want to earn $1 million just to get a good place to start a preaching center, or I want to learn harmonium, I want to learn this skill and that skill, I want to learn to sing nicely, I want to learn to worship nicely, dress nicely, or I want to take this particular, I want to learn to cook nicely. So now cooking, doesn't come anywhere with Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, and so on. But if you know the cooking, you know how much seva you can do, especially in Krishna consciousness, and 50% of spiritual life is just around serving prasad, honoring prasad, and so on. So it can be spiritualized. So like those goes.
So Prabhuji, this is also depend upon one's psychophysical nature, like somebody.
It depends upon, yes, your own nature and your own aspirations in life.
So जो भी physical, psychophysical nature हो, उसके according whatever is the goal, and then
you don't have to think about psychophysical nature, in the sense, if it is actually your nature, you cannot help. Nature is something you cannot not do. You will, by default, you will be doing it. I mean, you won't have to think, you won't have to analyze psychophysical nature, and that's why I'm doing this. It will come so naturally to you. And one of the way of identifying is the kind of problems you see in the world. Let us say one is a Brahmana. He is very much into cleaning. So if he enters into a place, he will notice only all those things which are unclean. Because he really values cleaning, or she. You know, उसको कहाँ पे चप्पल ठीक से अरेंज होके नहीं पड़े, कहाँ पे कोने कोनों में dirt है, that person will be able to observe. But if a person has a very Kshatriya kind of nature and he's very pakka organizer, he can enter a place and अभी किसी जो organization में नहीं है, that person won't be able to detect or see any problem. सब कुछ बढ़िया तो चल रहा है. But the person who has that kind of nature, he will be able to see, what good and what bad is going in this field. So one of the way to identify is the kind of problems you see around you. That's also.
I'll start noticing it now. 1 month. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yes, Prabhu. Aradhya, Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, if you could tell more regarding this Karma Mishra Bhakti, like we determine Karma Mishra, Gyan Mishra, or Yoga Mishra Bhakti. So on what factors we determine Bhakti is mixed? And other thing is, what's the difference between Karma Mishra Bhakti and Karma Yoga?
So again, excellent questions. So first, to answer your first question, you have entire unit Nectar of Devotion coming up, where all these technical details will be discussed. In a nutshell, that word definition is there: Anya Bhilashita Shunyam Gyan Karmadhyana Avritam Krishna Anushilanam Bhaktir Uttama Anukulyana Krishna Anushilanam Bhaktir Uttama. So this verse determines 2 things. One, to any action to be called as bhakti, it needs to have these three criterias. Forget about karma mishra, jnana mishra. Just to enter into the school of bhakti, any action, it should have these three qualifications. What is the first qualification? Krishna.
Okay.
So Krishna means Krishna and all the Vishnu expansion, Krishna's abode, Krishna's paraphernalia, and Krishna's devotees. Everything is included in Krishna. Then second qualification. So first it has, and the Krishna should be there in the picture. The second is Anukulyan. Anyabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavritam Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. Anushilanam. It has to be a cultivation of activity. Second, it has to be activity. So there are two kinds of activities, pravritti and nivritti. Activity is done by body, mind, and words. So it has to be activity according to Anushilanam, previous acharyas, under the guidance of previous acharyas. Now, the third, and this is the most important. So if you consider only these two factors, that means any activity that is done according to previous acharyas in relation to Krishna, that is devotional service. But it says no, it is not like that. The third thing is important. Anukulyena. That means it has to be performed with the intention to please Krishna. Just like Mother Yashoda. And the milk was boiling and the Krishna was crying. Externally, Krishna became displeased. He was crying. So whether Mother Yashoda was doing devotional service, bhakti or not, she was. Why? Because her intention was to please Krishna. If that intention is missing, then it doesn't count as bhakti. So these three things, it has to be for Krishna, according to previous acharyas, done for the pleasure with that intention. That intention must be there to please Krishna. Now, that's your second part of the question. Karma Mishra Bhakti means Anya Bhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karma in Anavritam. It should be free from the coverings of Jnana and Karma. Karma Mishra means I want to do devotional service, but I also have desire to enjoy the results for my own self. So that is Karma Mishra. Jnana Mishra, what is a mixture of Jnana? It is specifically refers to merging into impersonal Brahma Jyoti. Specifically, in a broader terms, it means I'm looking for liberation. Why am I chanting? Or why do I want to go back to Godhead? Because this world is very miserable. I don't want to experience misery. That is my primary reason. In the process, if Krishna becomes happy, that is okay. I don't have a problem with it. But ultimately, I want to be free from all kinds of miseries. So that is a mixture of Jnana. Ananya Bhakti is, my prime motivation is satisfaction of Krishna. My prime and my only motivation, I want to satisfy Krishna. In the process, whether I get misery, whether I get happiness, I don't care. My only absorption, my only thought is, how can I satisfy Krishna? That is Ananya Bhakti, Uttama Bhakti. And that can also be done even in the Kanishta stage. That can also be done at the beginning of devotional service. If someone has, anyway, that's a separate discussion, and you'll have a Nectar of Devotion unit.
But regarding Karma Yoga, I mean, what's the difference between Karma Yoga and Karma Mishra Bhakti?
Yes, so the difference is in a Karma Mishra Bhakti, you are following the process of bhakti. There is, the process of sadhana bhakti is that the person is actually following some process, some limbs of devotional service. There is some chanting, Ashravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Sevanam, Varshanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedan. These 9-4, which are further expanded into 64 devotional limbs. So though that process is going on. In Nishkam Karma Yoga, so there are two differences. One, the process is not there. One is just offering the result, but there is no specific practice of bhakti is going on. That's one. And secondly, many times in Nishkam Karma Yoga, that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead or Krishna is a transcendental cause, even that is also not clear. So some transcendental cause, I do it for some natural high power, for some higher thing, but that clarity of Krishna and that Sambandha Gyan is also not very clear.
So can Atri Muni an example of this? Because he wasn't clear who is the Supreme Lord. He just prayed that whosoever is the God, please give me darshan.
Sorry, say that again.
Atri Muni,
Yeah.
when he prayed that may the controllers of the world be present before me. So
Yeah.
he was not in knowledge of who is the actual controller. Say for ultimately all the three appeared. So can he be an example of this thing?
No. That's a separate case study. I mean, here we are discussing about Nishkam Karma Yoga. In the term, there has to be a karma. Sorry. And what is the karma? Just like for Arjuna, what is the karma here? He's supposed to fight according to that dharma. But in case of Atriya Muni, that was a very, very like a devotional, and his intention was specifically meant to attain the absolute truth or to pray to them, right? And that desire was very pure. But here, it is in terms of one's prescribed duty. How the result of that prescribed duties, one is not attached to that. He's offering that result. So some differences there. Okay.
And just one thing, Prabhuji, like you were saying that Anyabilashita Sunam Jnana Karma Vadinavitam. Anukulena, anukul to Krishna. It should be pleasing to Krishna. Intention should be to please Krishna. So in this regard, I wanted to ask that like we heard Prabhupada disciples saying many a times that we don't know who Krishna is, but we know who Prabhupada is. So whatever we wanted to do, we just wanted to please Prabhupada.
So
And
Krishna
so
means his pure devotees.
yeah, so like you're saying there are three things. One is Krishna. Third thing is acharyas. So it can also mean that they were following the acharya thing, but this favorably trying to please Krishna.
So that's what I'm saying. Krishna, when we say Krishna, Srila Rupa Goswami specifically defines what do we mean by Krishna. Krishna means all the Vishnu expansions. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Akhila Rasamrit. The goal of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Akhila Rasamrit Murti. That Krishna in Vrindavan, that's one. All his Vishnu expansion, Ram, Narayan, Matsya, Kurma, second. Third is all the devotees of Krishna, pure devotees of Krishna. That is included. And Krishna's abode, Krishna's paraphernalia. If one is doing, keeping that in the center, that is included. I mean, that fulfills the criteria.
So mentioning of these three things individually in the shloka, is it the same like we say that we should try to always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna? Both the things, establish the same thing.
Sorry, I could not understand your question. The three things which...
Like we see the word Krishna is there, it automatically means that we want to please Acharya. It automatically means Anushilanam. It also automatically means Anukulyena. But these things are still mentioned in the verse individually.
It doesn't mean automatically. One can be distributing books, Bhagavad Gita, let us say. But my intention may not be to please Krishna or please Acharya. I may be going out every day on book distribution, but I may be doing it because I know I will get a good profit margin, and that is why I'm doing it. Some devotee has employed me, and he has told me, if you distribute 10 Bhagavad Gita, I will give you 50% share. And I may be going out and just distributing Bhagavad Gita, but ultimately I'm doing it. I don't have anything to do with preaching or with Krishna or anything. My main goal may be how to earn money by distributing of Bhagavad Gita. So that doesn't count in bhakti. So it doesn't mean automatically all the three criteria will be there.
No, like you were saying that Krishna, whenever there's this word Krishna, Anukulena, Krishna Anushilanam. So Krishna, you mean that Krishna refers to all the three?
No, it can refer to any of these things I'm saying. doesn't necessarily mean all will be included automatically. If,
Okay.
let us say I don't know Krishna, but I am doing it for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada, let us say. Or I met a devotee and I started that process and I'm doing to please that particular devotee. Now Krishna is nowhere in the picture, but I'm doing it because I'm attached to that devotee. Still, it will be counted as bhakti. Just like Narad Muni, he was so attached to Bhakti Vedantist, and he made the progress in devotional life. Okay.
So I'm saying like Krishna may refer to all these three. You were saying it may
Yeah.
refer to devotees also, Krishna also. And regarding the Anushilanam aspect, you were particularly pointing out that it refers to the acharyas, that it should be followed under the guidance of acharyas.
It means two things, Anushilanam. First, Anushilan means it is action. It is some practical action that has to be there. So that action is done by three things. It can be either by body, by mind, or by words. Now, can any action will be counted as bhakti? No. Anushilanam. Anu means anugat, in the following in the footsteps of previous acharyas. So that kind of action has to be there, not whimsical action. That suddenly I wake up and I want to offer 108 bhoga for Lord. I'm just giving any random example. Any sentimental idea came and I want to do that for Lord, and it has to be in anugat, in line with the disciplic succession.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay, I think the timings were changed for this class. It was earlier it was still 10 o'clock, but now it's still 9:30. So I know there are a couple of questions. I'm ready to stay here, but if anyone wants to leave, please let us first close the class, and we'll meet tomorrow. But one important thing before you leave, on 27th, somehow there's some really urgent, some work has come which I cannot avoid during that time. So on 27th, the class will not be there. If I've discussing with coordinators, if there's any other day we can replace that class with, maybe Saturday, or we can extend on any of the day. I'm willing to adjust schedules accordingly. So I need your cooperation that on that particular one day specifically. 27th, I'll not be able to take the class. We'll adjust that class. If you all agree, we can adjust on coming Saturday, or whatever the coordinators decide. Okay. So thank you very much, Hare Krishna. Yes, Vrindavan Masi Prabhu, Hare Krishna. What can I answer you, Prabhu? You already, I should be hearing from you. I can't hear you, Prabhu. You're on mute, I think.
So thank you very much, Prabhuji, for all this enlightenment. No, Prabhuji, as you said, we are still in the contaminated platform and trying to go to the upper platforms by the mercy of the Sadhu.
It's such my pleasure to see you here, Prabhu. Thank you. Yes,
so, Prabhuji, I wanted to understand, as you said about this pure devotional service. So, supposing we are serving the devotees, maybe my field is like properties. So, if I'm trying to serve the devotees, so unless the consciousness behind is to please the devotees, so because if the devotees are pleased, then the Lord will be pleased. But in case it is not like sanctioned by the authorities, say the spiritual master, then it will not be counted as one is like you report, okay, we are doing the service, and one is the guru tells, okay, you do the service. So there's a difference. So will the intention to do the property business to serve the devotees for their pleasure, but it has not been approved by the authority, or we can say like we have just told them that we are doing, but it's not like a specific instruction has come from them. So will it be considered a kind of in which sector it will fall?
So Prabhuji, I'm just sharing my own understanding in this matter. So one is like going to very technical details. according to the definition of definition of Uttama Bhakti. So that Anushilanam, it means Anu. Anu means Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. All three things. So it has to be in line with either Guru or Sadhu or some Shastra. If not Guru, then some Sadhu, or if not Sadhu, some Shastra. But it has to be under the boundaries of these three. That's one. Now, second, on a practical point, sometimes, and specifically within the organizational structure of ISKCON and the different authority structure and so on. So there are many devotees who are very, very outgoing. They are preachers. They like to take risk. So if you are having that mode of Trinadapi Sunichena, and you are willing, you know that there is a very wonderful preaching opportunity. Sometimes there are such opportunities which you can see, but many times it may be possible your authorities may not be able to see that. But Krishna will make you the instrument that you can see that it's such a wonderful opportunity to preach or to share Krishna consciousness. So many times it happens, many devotees, they go out, they do that activity, bring result, and then they offer them to acharyas, or they go and tell that I took that initiative, such result comes. So two things happen. Either they become very happy, okay, you did, and they give you all the blessings and facilitate you further. And many times it happens, it can some damage may happen, you were expecting something, but something else happened. So then that's why I said, you should know how to beg forgiveness and then continue and take another initiative for the service of Krishna. So
Prabhuji, I would like to make my more self-clear so I can understand it much better for myself. Like Prabhuji, my basic nature is, maybe I can say it's more of Rajogun and Tamagun. So since I'm into this property business, it's easier for me or natural for me to serve the devotees in like for the properties. So it's easier for me because that's easier for me. But my instruction for me from my spiritual authorities or my spiritual master is that you should read and you should preach. So my main focus is on serving the devotees. So because that's natural for me. But when it comes to study and maybe to read and to preach, there I lack. So understanding, okay, this is my psychophysical nature, but my expectation from my spiritual masters is this. So if I have to perform pure devotional service, so that means maybe I have to focus more on the instructions given by the spiritual master and not maybe which is natural for me, which I am thinking is easier for me. I mean, just to understand it much more nicely.
So, Prabhu, again, two things. First, yes, principally, that is very, and there is no confusion in that principle. Everywhere, same thing, again and again, emphasized. Pleasure of spiritual master, their instructions are sum and substance of spiritual life. That are the only secret to success. I am forgetting the name of that acharya, but who writes? I think it was Vishwanath or Narottam Das Thakur. I'm not able to recognize, recall, but that acharya said, I am willing to let go of the pleasure of Shravan and Kirtan. I'm just to execute the service of my spiritual master. That he is relishing the holy names of the Lord so much. I mean, he can chant 24 hours, but I mean, I'm just paraphrasing, not the exact line, but he's willing to let go of the pleasure of Shravan and Kirtan so that he's able to focus on the instruction of that particular service that needs to be executed. Rup Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, they are chanting. Why? To control their ecstasies so that they can write books to please Lord Chaitanya. I mean, our situation is very different, but they are chanting just to control themselves so that they can execute them. So yes, that's one principle is very Now, on a practical term, second principle I want to say. So when we sometimes we see Guru as a very, the connection and relationship with Guru can exist. I mean, there can be a very, very open communication with them. It's not that like if my spiritual master had said one thing, and now that's the end of it. If I have a certain things, I have no room for my own expression or to express my own. So one can always go and share. This is my physical name. As I see myself in this light, and I think I can contribute in this and this particular way. So one can always go and open one's heart and express fully. And if one doesn't, it may happen, Maharaj may say, okay, you do this, or he may change. But still, if you think you are not satisfied, then you can again go and say, okay, you told me this. I tried in this and this manner, and this is how I'm feeling. This is where I'm stuck. How can I make further progress? So you can always, I mean, those channels are always there. So that is why Guyam Akhyati Prayachiti is one of the most fundamental principles of spiritual life. So yes, pleasure of Guru is everything, but it just doesn't mean that his instruction is very static and there is no and there's no discussion about that. That's the very end of it. There's no autocracy going on, right? So that's all. You can always express, always discuss, and always. But once, let us say, after 5 discussions, Maharaj is still saying, I understand your point clearly, and I still want you to do this thing. Then at point, okay, Maharaj, I'll do this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, Anandita, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Pranam Prabhuji, beautiful reply. And can I add one point to the
Please add to the
Bhakti,
conversation. Sure.
Prabhuji, I just wanted to tell you one thing. With the very little experience and with the very, very little seva bhav that I possess for my Guru Maharaj, with that experience, I just want to share one thing. Book reading was completely something, I did not like to read. Any kind of book in my, before joining Krishna consciousness also, I wasn't so fond of reading books, not at all. So when I came to Krishna consciousness and when I was told that you have to finish this book reading course for initiation after my shelter, it was something like mind-boggling for me. How will I do? And I just went to meet my Guru Maharaj. And I just said to him, I just mentioned that Guru Maharaj, I have to finish my book reading course. And I was asking many devotees over there, have you finished? Have you finished? Because I was, I was thinking that it is not possible for me. And I just said to my Guru Maharaj, please bless me so that I can read the books. Without, even if I haven't finished my line, and my mentor, Her Grace Radhakrishna Mataji, was standing there, my Guru Maharaj just asked her, did you share the book list with her? She has to read. She said, yes. But he said only this thing, and you won't believe the lots of blessings were there with that. And I completed the book reading before the time. And then when I asked Mataji, I've read the Bhagavad Gita twice and finished other books. Then she said that Prabhupada said to my Guru Maharaj to read 10 times Bhagavad Gita before initiation. So you read at least for 4 times. And I was reading that. So like Prabhuji said, like our gurus are not so, not of so commanding nature that whatever they have said, you have to do this. You can share your thought every time. And even if they want, and then you must have firm faith that lots of mercy and blessings would be there in those instructions. And you will be able to do all these things without any fear or anything. This is what my little understanding.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Okay.
Prabhuji, I wanted to ask one question. Like you were saying to Mukund Priya Mataji, Prabhuji, as long as the work has to be done by myself, then I'm there to decide in what consciousness I should do, what's the purpose, and whatever things. And even we can discuss with our senior devotees and mentors also. But as long as, if suppose my daughter is doing something, she's pursuing for medicals and all, which I did not wanted at all, which I did not want personally, because I've seen that there's no use of working so hard for the materialistic degrees and all. But she had a desire and she's doing it. So in this type of decisions, especially with your child, because whatever your husband is doing, you have no control. And even if the child is doing, you do not have any control, because they have their own life's goal and the things. So how can we, being a mother, I being a mother, I think take this idea, how we can make that proposal Krishnaized.
First of all, Mataji, I think pursuing medicine is it's a very wonderful field. I know it's a lot of hard work, but I think that is not a complete understanding, because there is so much hard work involved. So better give it up. So I'm not sure from where is this coming, and don't agree fully to it. It can be a very glorious thing, and it can be used very wonderfully in the service of Vaishnavas and Krishna. Now, second thing, in terms of how to take such a crucial decision, specifically in respect to our near and dear ones, again, and there are no easy answers for it. Yet there are certain guidelines given by Shastras. And it varies from from what kind of relationship we have, how much responsible we have. For example, if there's a newborn child, and till 5 year, 10 year, 12 years, we are accountable and responsible for whatever he or she goes through, and we have to really take even the small calls as well. But if a parent is doing the same thing when the child is like 22 years old, 23 years old, and there is no space for that child to explore himself or herself, or to express himself or herself fully, I think then the relationship would be very strained. The person would start feeling suffocated, or the person would start feeling, I'm not growing at all. They won't feel confident in life. And, so it depends upon various factors. One, what exactly is the relationship? Second, the nature of that relationship, just like the age and the circumstances and so on. And third, at the same time, what helps is our own experience in life. Let us say, if I am a person who is always looking after security, let us say my all decisions are based from a platform of fear, or platform of little bit of insecurity, then I will see my entire world and my all decision will be influenced. My first concern will be that I should be secure, right? The safety concern will be topmost for some. While for some other person, safety concern would be the last. The first person would be to let us explore something new. They'll be very outgoing. Will be, they can take newer and newer risk in life. And for them, their nature and their approach to life would be very different. I'm just giving, and like that, there are like various levels, various layers. So it depends upon who am I as a person, what my experience are. It needs some sort of clarity for my own nature, my own self. And at the same time, one should know one's boundaries also. I should know, okay, my concern is this, but it need not be the concern of the other person. That person's identity may be different. That person's expression may be different. So let me not just blindly impose myself, my thoughts, my aspirations, and my nature on the other person. So one of the things that really help in this is listening. is having a meaningful conversation. But even to listen, even for the other person to express, there needs to be some sort of trust in the relationship. The trust that this person can really understand me. Now that trust won't come until and unless we are really honest and we have some sort of integrity in our life, right? That trust will come based upon the purity of our own character. uh, uh, so one of the things that can really help in this, if I can be patient enough to just hear out completely. That's the one thing. Now, second thing that can really help is to take the guidance of someone who is expert in that field. I may not be expert in everything. Sometimes even devotees have that habit. You give them any topic, any area, anything, and they will have an opinion and they think that opinion is perfectly correct. So there are different expertise. For example, just like Vrindavan Vasi Prabhu expressed, he is into property deal. But if someone asks me anything about property, I have no clue, nothing I know about the properties. And if I start giving any random advice about property, it would do the more damage to that person. I would rather give him the contact of Vrindavan Vasi Prabhu. Prabhu, here is one devotee. You please speak to that person. Or I myself will speak, find out all the information and can share with that person. So similarly, it depends upon the nature of the problem, nature of the decision, who all are involved, and better try, take a broader view by consulting some experts. And one more thing I wanted to add, the ability to actually take a decision also helps. Many times, the children, or if it's a difficult situation, we want to just postpone it. We don't want to take any decision at all. And it just we keep on procrastinating until and unless something really serious comes. Let us say someone has a leg pain, but just one doesn't take care of it. One wants to procrastinate. Acha, theek ho jayega, apne aap ho jayega. It just keeps on increasing. Until unless there's so much pain that we really have to go to doctor, and doctor says, okay, now it's a do or die situation. So that is also not healthy. To take decision timely, to actually stand up and take a call and stand by that call is also very important in order to make some movement in life. So yeah, I mean, I spoke in terms of just general principle. Rest everything will depend upon the specific problem, specific case study in the mind, right?
No, thank you, Prabhuji. Actually, it wasn't like that. Even I'm passionate now also, but thankfully Krishna has diverted my attention to Krishna consciousness. And being I'm also a CA, so I was always be very passionate. Padna hai, kuch karna hai type, aisa tha. And so I also used to think that obviously what parent cannot do, they see in their child that they will do. This is the common psychology of all the parents. So I just shared that with Tanishka. I don't know, it came all of a sudden that she will pursue this line, and with a very short span of time we have to take decision. Schools are also wanting us to take the stream, and it was very stressful. And I talked to many devotee doctors also and other, because this is completely a new line for the whole family, because we all are in commerce line. So it was, but we are with her. But why I wasn't willing? Because after coming to Krishna consciousness, I thought that I should not overload my passion on my child so that she should suffer. So that was my understanding, and I was preparing myself. Whatever she takes, even if she takes humanity, I'm fully fine and okay. I will not overload her. You do this, that. You see that cousin, he or she has done so much. This was my only thinking. But I
I'm
don't know,
sure.
Krishna has some other plans. And what I did not want, she took it. And in the journey of this 1.5 years, we have seen her falling down so many times because it's such a difficult task to do. I can really understand.
So, yeah.
But some in my heart it was there, but I could not pursue this line. So that's fine. We are trying to be with her. And at one point of time, she was so Krishna conscious because I got my, when I got in Krishna consciousness, she was 6 or 7 years old. So she was being, overloaded, fully packed, given a good pack of Krishna consciousness during that time. And that really, I don't know, it's a overconfidence and all, but I feel that it will help her throughout her life. And she will not be deviated from this. Maybe she's not doing so much nowadays because of peer pressure, because of study pressure, like that. So
Thank
this
you.
is
Thank you,
what, and but
Mataji.
eventually,
Yeah, I'm saying thank you for sharing, and I'm sure you have the best of interest and best of concerns, and just like all the mothers in this world. So yeah, and
I
my
only thought one thing when he mentioned this, then I thought, I just remembered my Guru Maharaj that he said, even if you are a materialistic doctor, you should be a doctor for the soul also. And I said the same thing to her, that please become a doctor for the soul also. This will fulfill everything, whatever you want. So need blessings for that. Thank you.
yeah, sure, Mataji. All the best to your daughter and to you. Okay. Thank you very much. So we'll meet tomorrow. And let me share that link with Richa Mataji. So she should be able to share with all of you. So it's a complete audio base of Srila Prabhupada's bhajans, kirtans, lectures, recitation. Just download that, specifically hear the Bhagavad Gita class of that verse. Okay, try to. Okay, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Upasthit Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.